Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Deborah Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
In just a moment, our special Morning Light panel will go behind the headlines.
But first, here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. Many churches celebrated the National Sanctity of Human Life on Sunday, January 19th, which recognizes the value of every human life. And we will talk to a Pennsylvania organization that is committed to providing women with unplanned pregnancies an alternative, plus working towards a Pennsylvania where life is fully protected by the law. We will talk to the Pennsylvania Family Institute.
But first, here are some headlines. Days after the Trump administration promised to rule the artificial intelligence space, creating the White House AI and crypto czar, China roared back with an announcement of the new chatbot, DeepSeek. Hence the whale. They have a whale symbol for their logo. The move caused a $1 trillion tumble in U.S. and European AI stocks. An advisor to President Trump called it a Sputnik moment for America, recalling the launch of the Soviet satellite that triggered the Cold War. So when new technologies emerge, from radio and TV to the internet and AI, there's always fear, but what principles should guide our engagement with this promising new technology?
Yeah, that's $1 million question, really.
I haven't thought it all through.
Right.
I think it's coming so fast, and you know there's a revolution, but all of us haven't thought through the ethics.
Sure, absolutely. Well, President Trump has renewed calls for the United States to take possession of Greenland, a tiny Nordic island with a population of 57,000, rich in critical minerals and natural resources. President Harry Truman first tried to buy Greenland from Denmark in 1946 for $100 million in gold. President Trump's first offer in 2019 was also rejected. So really, what principles, if any, should guide our acquisition of new states and territories?
I think those principles change from era to era. This one isn't so obvious, but I think the panel will tell us what it is.
Anxious to hear what they say.
Well, do you remember where you were 39 years ago today? On January 28, 1986, 7 American astronauts aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger, including teacher Krista McAuliffe, were lost in a terrifying explosion just 73 seconds after takeoff. But the words of comfort President Ronald Reagan offered from the Oval Office on that night of tragedy turned into a moment of national unity. Today we'll reflect on that tremendous loss and the significance of that speech. We'll tackle these questions with the Morning Light panel this morning. And I would love to welcome back Pastor Dave Biser. Man, it feels like a year.
It does feel like a year.
We're so glad to have you back.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Cynthia Lyons.
Morning.
Glad you're here. Daniel Malinich. Glad you're here. Where were you? Let me begin with you, Dave. Where were you on that day? Where did you hear the news about the Challenger? What was your first reaction?
So I was serving in the military at the time. And so we all went in a heightened sense of alert and preparation. But, you know, I think as a person who looked on that situation, heroes walk into realities where they know that this could cost your life. Yeah. And I think every one of those astronauts recognized and realized when they sat in those seats that this could be the last thing I ever do in my life. Persons who serve in the military realize that.
That way, but when it happens.
Absolutely, right, absolutely.
You're an educator, you're a teacher. The idea of someone who was a teacher in space, every classroom in America was tuned into this event. Your thoughts that morning, where were you?
I was sitting on the floor of Memorial, 3rd floor, Hood College, with some of my friends, watching it with the Rabbit Ears television. You know, we did. We watched it live, and we had a great educational program there. So it was all about the teacher going into space. And I think she was aware that when she got on that rocket, she and the others could lose their life. I don't think the reality was there because I think, I don't know, one way or the other. And I think we can't lose sight of there was not just one person on that rocket. And sometimes I think we miss that. But
that's right, there are other names
and faces.
Yes, I remember. Yeah. Now, let's take a look at what President Reagan said that evening, the famous speech, probably his best and best known, the Challenger speech.
The crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger honored us for the manner in which they lived their lives. We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them this morning, as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God. Thank you.
there's so much theology certainly packed up. We don't talk about heaven a lot. Presidents certainly don't talk about heaven a lot. But the idea of leaving one reality and going into the next. And this was obviously a president who confessed his faith in Christ in many, many different ways. When you see a speech like this, it almost feels like a throwback time, that politicians don't talk this way anymore. But he immediately, Daniel, welded together a country. Space for your generation is probably not as exciting, or is it? Like, what does your generation view space exploration?
I think we view a lot of space in the sense of we can start to do in the sky, but ground-to-ground travel, like SpaceX talks about being able to get to LA to New York. I think those are the kinds of things that we're like, yes, we've been to space, we've done all these things, so now how can we take that technology and make it even better? So when SpaceX talks about being able to get across the world in 25 minutes, I mean, who wouldn't love that?
Right.
And so it's those kinds of things that get us excited, but not so much the, oh, let's just go to the moon again, because, I mean, we've been there. It's just rock.
That's different than Tang, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit. Tang, do you remember Tang?
Yeah,
you
right.
don't remember
we
Tang,
do.
do you?
Yes,
We
yes,
sure do.
Yes.
But it's the Jetsons, right?
Yeah,
it's
indeed.
the Jetsons coming alive.
Yeah.
So
right?
let's talk about, the Jetsons' reality is almost here, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, let's talk about China. China really, this is kind of a remarkable story, because we woke up yesterday and go, wow, everyone who was king on 2 days ago suddenly is a pauper, or a billionaire pauper still. But AI really, in just a matter of seconds, we saw America saying we will be the envy of the world, a lot of chest beating, and then an immediate, right away, China roars back with AI. Have we thought through all the implications?
Oh, absolutely not. Oh my gosh.
How should we be thinking through this moment?
Yeah, right. It's moving too fast for us to think of all the implications. And sometimes it's okay to build a plane in the air, but most times there really needs to be a bunch of people sitting around the table thinking this through. And I think all of us have probably heard somebody say, you know, there's so many obvious benefits to AI that we should look at this, and we should look at it closely, and we should look at it very real. On the other hand, there are also all of the people telling us to be cautious and not move too fast. We're moving fast. This is fast. Yeah.
Ethics seems to be, I think at some point there was a White House Office of Ethics. You used to get a sense when a president would give a State of the Union address or an inaugural address, they would outline their core principles. We don't necessarily know the principles in this moment guiding an administration. Over time we might. But what do you think the principle should be, or at least the question we should be asking, so we don't just have fear and anxiety about this moment?
I think, first of all, we've got to walk into this humbly because we don't really have a sense of what's to come. I think we have to, as a country, and one of the things that I had heard was someone from the United States said, hey, this looks good.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't right away go, oh, they did this and they did that. So sort of a joint force per se. But I think we have to be careful with where we're stepping. And I think you're right. It's coming quickly. It's coming really quickly.
So the tech war, that's emerging, right? So you have the Cold War is now being replaced by a technology war. So how do you view this moment? You're a person who is interacting, at least at some level, with AI and the implications of it.
It's very interesting because we saw that jump and they said we did it for only $6 million, but later in the day they then had a security issue. They couldn't handle the kind of drive that they were getting. And so yes, you can create the base model for cheaper, but the sustainability is still the question there.
What do you mean by that? Slow it down for me.
So basically how AI works, a lot of them, they run off tiny chips, like what's in your phone, that processor.
Right.
And NVIDIA is a company that produces those.
Right.
They have been creating, mass producing, getting large investments, saying we need all these so AI can get smarter, can get better, can get faster. Meta's been putting in money as well. That's why that was climbing in the stocks. DeepSeek comes out and says we did it for $6 million.
DeepSeek, the Chinese
That's
whale.
the Chinese whale, yes. That fear of, oh, wow, you can do it for only $6 million, that's why we saw that plummet in the stock market, because everyone said, oh, if it's for cheap, then we don't need to give NVIDIA the money.
Okay, so do you agree that with Cynthia when she says that America has to approach this humbly, that we always can't say we're going to be the best, or is being the best important in technology because you're asserting kind of your manhood here.
We absolutely can come into that humbly sense, especially because we're still figuring it out.
Okay.
DeepSeek isn't overnight, it's number one.
Fair.
It's just a question mark.
Okay.
And so we just have to ride it out.
All right, here's maybe the hardest question of today, because I don't think we've thought through it all, but every other day, it seems to be coming back. Greenland. Right. So Greenland potentially being an American territory, maybe like Puerto Rico, maybe like other territories we've had in the past, relational like Guam, or maybe a state, not sure. Mm-hmm. How do we, though, when America is looking at acquiring territory, what should the rule be so we don't have another scenario where we're regretting and having to apologize for territory acquisition or getting a black eye?
Right. I think whether it's AI or whether it's the acquisition of territory, one of the things I want somebody sitting around the table asking is national security. And I think that's an important question we need to ask. And oftentimes acquisition has to do with creating boundaries and borders. And
so we have a base there.
We do. But we're still limited in what we can do in that situation because it's not ours. And in the past, those limitations drove Jefferson to the Louisiana Territory purchase because he wanted to make decisions about that territory that were our decisions, not somebody else's. And we wrote a pretty big check. Yeah. That's correct. Right.
So, but is there anything as a Christian we should be thinking through when we have these discussions? How do we approach it from the Bible?
Right. Well, certainly it's not a political agenda to acquire land so that we can all of a sudden make everybody Christian, right? That's not where we want to be. So in that respect, I don't think the Bible talks to politics in that respect. In the acquisition of territory.
Kings or
but it certainly does talk about how we are to treat one another.
Okay.
And because of that, I think, again, the word humble is the word of the morning, right? We need to walk into this humbly, sit down at the table, and ask questions that cause us to care for and care about each other.
Final word, the word of the day is humble.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
I like it.
Very, very much. Very, very good conversation. Sorry we didn't get to everybody on this one, but we'll be coming back to it, I'm sure, in days ahead. Saving the lives of babies and the hearts of their mothers, a Pennsylvania Pregnancy Center provides no-cost help to women facing an unplanned pregnancy to help them make an informed decision. You're watching Morning Light on Lighthouse TV.
Psalm 127:3 says, "Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from Him." But not everyone feels that way. Statistics show in 2023, more than 35,000 abortions were performed in Pennsylvania. Morning Star seeks to help women facing an unplanned pregnancy by helping them understand their options. Michelle Lorenz, the executive director of Morning Star, is back with us. Thank you for returning to our program.
Thank you.
So we just celebrated Sanctity of Human Life last Sunday. Also on last Friday, we had the March for Life rally in our nation's capital. Why is it so important to have days like this set aside?
Well, it is so important to pray for the culture of, to instill the culture of life in our community. Every person is created by God, knit together in their mother's womb, and with abortion being marketed across our state, it is so vitally important for us to stand strong to support these mothers and their unborn children.
And you certainly stand strong with your mission. Remind us of the mission of Morning Star and what you offer.
Yeah. So Morning Star's mission ultimately is to empower people to make life-choosing decisions. And we do this by providing medical services, pregnancy testing, ultrasounds, counseling for the women so they understand all of their options and they can make an informed decision. And we extend that to fathers as well. We also hook them up with community resources and supply them with baby supplies long after the baby's even born.
And I love that you provide services after the baby is born, because I'm sure it's great when you're going through that moment, but you do need help afterwards as well.
Absolutely.
So since Roe v. Wade was overturned, so what are you seeing? Are you seeing an increase or a decrease of abortions?
So it's really hard to understand the actual numbers behind this. We do know that there are many women still seeking abortion. And the face of abortion has really changed due to the accessibility of the abortion pill. It is now responsible for more than 50% of abortions that happen out there. And when women have easy access to it, they experience an abortion in their own home, and so you don't even know what those numbers are.
So these are women that you can't even reach. Now, the women that you can reach, how do you share the gospel with them?
So every morning before our clinic opens, all of our staff and volunteers pray. We pray for our clients that are coming through our doors. We pray for the Lord to use our hands, our voices, to do the very best to care for and love our clients. And then ultimately, we pray that the Lord will touch their hearts.
Yeah, very important to pray for these individuals. What type of difference do you think you're making?
Well, we know that Morning Star is making a big difference in the community. All of our services are free of charge, and with all the medical services and the counseling, we also offer post-abortion support, abortion pill reversal, hooking them up with community resources, and then ultimately supplying them with many different, many baby supplies for, long after the baby's born.
So support is so very important. What recommendation do you have to our viewers, someone who may be watching, who knows someone who has a granddaughter who is pregnant and isn't sure what to do? What is your recommendation?
Yeah. Well, that's a very scary time, and that it is so important that that woman receives support and help, and understands what her options are. So my recommendation would definitely call Morning Star. And schedule an appointment to see us. And if you're not nearby here, look for your local medical center pregnancy clinic. And so that way she can be educated on all of her options and be able to make the best informed decision for her.
And depending upon where you live, there are places like Morning Star all across Pennsylvania,
Yes.
New Jersey.
Yes.
So what's the best way to find one of those agencies?
Well, it's real easy to just Google them. You can look them up. Most pregnancy centers are out there on social media, and they're doing their marketing, so you can find them.
Okay. Michelle, thank you so much for being back with us and sharing the information, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
And if you would like more information, you can check out MorningstarClinics.com. Coming up next on Morning Light, the Pennsylvania Family Institute seeks to protect life and promote family. How the organization is equipping pro-life advocates to defend the unborn with compassion and conviction. We are back in 1 minute. Welcome back. The Pennsylvania Family Institute continues to fight to protect family values, religious liberty, and the sanctity of life. Joining me is Alexis Sneller, policy analyst for the PA Family Institute. Thanks for being with us. Last time we saw you, you were pregnant.
Yes.
You had the baby, and how's that going?
Better than I could have imagined. Babies are the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy every moment. I'm sure everyone tells you it goes by just like that.
I believe it.
Let's talk about the PA Family Institute and the turnout at the rally, the March for Life rally. What was it like?
Yes, there was an incredible turnout at the March for Life in Washington, D.C. It is the largest pro-life gathering in the entire world. And we've even heard that Pennsylvania sends more marchers than any other state. So we're quite proud of that representation, not just in citizens, but also in elected leaders. We had our new Senator Dave McCormick. We also had Congressman Lloyd Smucker and many other legislators. But the significance of an assembly this big is that it sends a message that the pro-life movement is not going to rest until every single life is protected.
Wow, it's alive and well as far as the movement is concerned. Talk to us about the speakers.
There was an array of wonderful speakers, but some of the highlights include the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. President Trump sent a message from the Oval Office where he shared the exciting news that one of his first official official acts in office was to pardon over almost 24 pro-life individuals who were wrongfully imprisoned under the Biden administration. And then, of course, the keynote speaker was Vice President J.D. Vance. And really the premise of what he shared is not only is it important that we protect life in the womb, but also that we have a holistic culture of life where we're supporting women, we're supporting families. Because in the pro-life movement, we know better than anyone how abortion deeply hurts women. In Pennsylvania, in the last few years, complications from abortions have tripled. Wow. And we understand that when we support marriage, when we support families, that's a way that we can decrease abortions and increase the culture of life. And so it was really important to hear that message.
Yeah, how does it really encourage the whole movement?
Oh, well, just the march itself, I encourage anyone who hasn't been to go because it's such an energizing event to be at. But I think the encouragement was really summarized well by Speaker Lila Johnson. She's the president of Live Action, and she shared a story about how the night before the rally, she was debating at Georgetown University, a pro-abortion professor, and she left the event thinking, I don't know if I made any difference. And she got a text that night that there was at least one student who was pro-choice who is now pro-life. And she just encouraged all of us that we have no idea the impact that we make, but it happens one person at a time. So just courage begets courage. And when we share what's true in our churches, to our neighbors, to our communities, God uses that to change hearts and minds in a powerful way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, abortion is illegal in 13 states. Really, what is this message sending?
The message that's being sent is that Americans are done with abortion extremism. We know that 2/3 of Americans support abortion restrictions. And so what we're seeing is that these states are not only protecting and defending the most vulnerable citizens, but they're defending them after they're born. In Mississippi, which is the state where the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe came out of, they are leading initiatives in protecting pregnant and parenting women and families. So again, we see this continuation of where the pro-life movement is not only stopping abortion, but they're also turning around and supporting babies and women and families.
Yeah, and that is so very important. Let's talk about this year, 2025. What is in store for the PA Family Institute?
It's a very exciting year for PA Family Institute. We are continuing to work in grassroots and local communities at the state capitol up in Harrisburg. There's too many initiatives and projects for me to say them all, but every single one of them contributes to a Pennsylvania where God is honored, where life is cherished, where families thrive, and where religious freedom is protected. So I'd encourage viewers to go to pafamily.org, where they can sign up for our emails and stay up to date on the latest news and also how they can take action, because we can't do what we do without our partners and support from across the Commonwealth.
And I'm sure you're also working on your rally too.
Yes, our rally, we have the Pennsylvania March for Life on September 22nd in Harrisburg. It's a great event, and I think your viewers are going to love it.
Great. Thank you so much. And enjoy being a mom.
Thank you so much.
And for more information about the Pennsylvania Family Institute, check out pafamily.org. Stay with us. We are back right after the break. Welcome back. Coming up tomorrow on Morning Light, there's a central Pennsylvania nonprofit that provides health insurance to thousands of people who are uninsured. This ministry not only provides physical needs, but spiritual needs too. We will introduce you to Hope Within. And that's a look at what's coming up tomorrow on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts.
Well, thank you, Deborah. Well, this week marks the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz concentration camp. Now, for scale, it's a site the size of 6,000 football fields, host to murderous horrors of an unimaginable scale. The lives of 1.1 million souls lost, 1 million Jews, families erased, names replaced with numbers. Today, barely 1,000 Auschwitz survivors still walk the earth. What an incredible, incredible piece of history we're losing before our eyes. Some of them are our Pennsylvania neighbors. Every day they're here. They are shopping next to us. We see them in community centers and nursing homes. No one can, though, with integrity deny the truth. As long as they're alive, as long as they're speaking, as long as they're sharing the truth in classrooms, the truth can't be erased. But in this moment, there's a creeping reality. Here's a new survey. 49% of millennials can't name a single concentration camp. 41% of adults can't even tell you what Auschwitz means, and much less associating it with the horrors of Nazi Germany. Our collective civic community memory is fading. When we forget that every life, every human life is made in God's image and has dignity and value and worth, the unthinkable happens. On this anniversary, let's pledge to always, always tell their story. For Deborah and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for watching. Go check on your neighbors, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow morning.